okay? All right, when I was younger, I built an addition onto my grandparents' house. I was 25, pretty handy, so I was sure I could do this whole job on my own. Well, almost the whole job. I didn't want to do any of the plumbing. I hated plumbing. Every time I did any plumbing, I got leaks. I install a drain under the sink, leaks. Put a new supply line on the toilet, leaks. I mean, if I used the garden hose, leaks. So I called in my Uncle Don, professional plumber, union guy. He could handle this. So he spent half a day in the crawl space underneath my new addition, building this gorgeous network of copper tubing. I was actually awed as I watched him cut, bend, and solder these pipes. And then eventually, he ran a line to connect his masterpiece to the main water, twisted the valve open, and leaks. I mean, what the heck? I could have done that myself. Uncle Don looks at me and he laughs and he says, "Listen, kid, show me a plumber with no leaks, I'll show you an out-of-work plumber." I remember those words whenever I make a mistake, whenever I fall short of a goal, whenever I fail. Most recently, I thought of Uncle Don when I read the words of John C. Maxwell. If you're not failing, you're probably not really moving forward. We have a problem in our education system today. It's bigger than testing. It's bigger than accountability. I mean, it's bigger than teacher salaries, charter schools, class sizes. Our problem is that we have an abundance of students who are frozen in their own fear of failure. Our kids are so worried about making a mistake for fear of a bad grade that they can't move forward in their own learning process. We as teachers continue to encourage them to take academic risks. I mean, intellectual risk-taking is literally one of our core values here at SRDS. And still, if you listen to a bunch of teachers talking about their biggest concerns, you'll hear them talking about a student's obsession with grades and fear of failure. I mean, when I give an assignment in my class, a project, my emails are crazy. I'm bombarded with emails of clarification. Now, these are students who have detailed project guidelines, explicit assessment rubrics. They've listened to me describe the project in detail in class, and still, they feel the need to ask for clarification, to get reassurance so they don't make a mistake. In fact, it's kind of telling that often they've chosen to email me their question instead of asking in class, because not only are they afraid of being wrong, they're afraid of even sounding wrong. Think of the far-reaching implications of this problem. I mean, in education, otherwise honest, hardworking, intelligent kids resort to cheating. In politics, we've created a zero-tolerance environment. One mistake, your career could be over. And when was the last time you had an argument with anyone that ended with both parties agreeing to some middle ground? In fact, if you're honest with yourselves, don't you just assume that anyone who disagrees with you is either ignorant, stupid, or lying? It's a big problem. I think the problem is rooted in incentives. I'm an economics teacher, and economics teaches us that people make choices based on their incentives. I think our education problem is with our incentives. It doesn't matter how often I encourage my kids to take intellectual risks. It doesn't matter how well I explain that we learn from our mistakes. It doesn't matter how many Michael Jordan or Thomas Edison stories of grit and resilience I tell them. As long as their final trimester grades are calculated by looking at all the numbers they've earned throughout the term, they will choose to maximize those numbers, maybe at the expense of everything else, including honesty and learning. In a 2014 TED Talk, Sir Ken Robinson said, "If you're not prepared to be wrong, you'll never come up with anything original." I think we all want our kids to be original thinkers. So we need to start to prepare them to be wrong and wrong a lot. I think really the fastest way to the solution is to just eliminate grades. Alas, I don't have that power. So I have 3 suggestions that we can do in the meantime. Number 1, stop grading formative assessments. Look, if an assignment is truly formative, and that means I've designed it to improve student skill, why should I also use it to weigh down a student's grade? The Battle of Angari was Leonardo da Vinci's first attempt at a fresco painting. It's a pretty impressive sketch, right? But the fresco ended up on the floor of the Palazzo Vecchio in Florence. Da Vinci's first attempt was an epic fail. Sometime later, with a little more practice, a little better skill, Da Vinci produced this, his only other fresco. So should we assess Da Vinci, his skill as a fresco artist, by averaging the 2? I don't think so. Number 2, reward the writing process. When we give written assessments, essays, poems, stories, we should find ways to value the process as much as the final product. I mean, it's really impressive when kids give us a written assignment, first draft, and it's an A already. But single draft writing, it's unsustainable in the real world. Professional writers, novelists, poets, journalists, even authors of business reports, are expected to turn in high quality, well-organized, and well-edited work. That sort of work is a result of a process that involves pre-writing and rewriting. Write, revise, repeat. I think we could learn something from high school sports. At the end of the season, the coach usually gives out an MVP award. This is the most talented player on the team. But oftentimes, in fact, almost always, the coach also gives a most improved player award. Although this particular individual may not be the highest scorer, this is a person that's shown the most personal growth. I think we need to give kids a reason to see their own personal growth as valuable. Number 3, develop a rigorous retake policy. Even when we give a test that was designed to be a final cumulative assessment of learning, if a child doesn't do their best on that test, I think they should be encouraged to go back to the drawing board and try it again. For this, I go back to sports, except this time the Olympics. Michael Phelps was born into a swimming family in Baltimore. He qualified for the 2000 Olympics at only 14 years old. Unfortunately, he placed 5th in his best event, the 200-meter butterfly. And you know, the Olympics, they don't give medals for 5th place. So Michael Phelps went back to Baltimore empty-handed. But his swimming didn't stop there. He kept training and kept improving, kept getting better, and he returned to the Olympics 4 more times. When it's all said and done, Michael Phelps broke pretty much every Olympic swimming record there was, and today, he is the most highly decorated Olympian of all time in any sport. With 28 overall medals, 23 of those gold. If a student doesn't perform his best on our test, shouldn't we encourage that person to go back to the drawing board and return later for the gold? For years, I've taught the words of René Descartes, cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. I think it might be time that we adopt the lesser-known words of St. Augustine, faller ergo sum. I err, therefore I am. Even 1,800 years ago, philosophers understood that our fallibility is what makes us human. We need to encourage our kids to be wrong. We need to encourage ourselves and our kids to embrace failure as a step towards success. If we can find ways to stop scoring summative assessments as part of our grade book, to value the writing process as much as the writing product, and to create rigorous retake policies so that we can make lifelong learners out of our kids, I think we can rewrite the entire understanding of failure. We and our students can embrace failure. So, unless you're one of the people who can actually eliminate grades, I suggest that we all go back to our classrooms and try to teach our kids how to fail in order to succeed. Because I'm certain that we are all capable of creating great masterpieces in our lifetime, so long as we can accept the leaks along the way. Thank you.